I have scoured the internet for hours. It feels like an eternity that I've been doing this. I've been trying to make this video over time, not the video portion, but the research portion I've been doing over the past couple weeks, trying to get all the resources that I can for you guys. So without even getting into anything else about the NCLEX, I'm going to give you every single resource that I've found on the internet that's like maybe worth a little bit to you to pass the NCLEX. So let's talk about it. I don't want to waste much time talking about anything other than the resources that I found and the NCLEX. Like, I kind of brushed over this stuff in a previous video I made about the NCLEX and why passing in 75 questions should not be your goal. So check that video out. It's not as good, I think. I was just getting into making videos and now I'm a little bit more comfortable behind the camera. So a lot of editing went into that and it's not as smooth. I'm hoping this one will be smoother, comprehensive, and just like a complete guide to what you need moving forward. But definitely check that video out. It talks a little bit about why 75 questions is not important in passing your NCLEX. And I still want to keep that idea at the focus of what we're doing, because your goal should not be to pass in 75 questions. It should just be to pass the NCLEX in general. But I don't want to rant about that too much. I want to provide you with all the resources that I have found on the internet that I think will help you pass the NCLEX. Some of these I used, some of them I did not. Do not get overwhelmed by the amount of resources I'm going to share with you. Please feel free to use what makes you comfortable. If you want to study off of 3 things, if you want to study off of 1 thing, if you don't want to study anything that I show you, that's totally fine too. So don't feel pressure or overwhelmed to use or do any of these things, but definitely I encourage you to try and check them out and see if they're a good fit for you, because they could be something that is fruitful to your NCLEX endeavors. So let's get into the video. Okay, you guys, so I mentioned this in my last video. I will stand by this for eternity. Mark Klimek. His lectures are fantastic, and I truly believe they helped me pass the NCLEX. He made the material so easy to understand. I wish that I had these while I was in nursing school, because I think I would have understood the concepts better. He explained things in a way where I was able to like digest it and truly understand it. So I would really suggest checking out his lectures. There are 12 of them. You can find them on YouTube and you can find them on Spotify. I will link them below so that you can just access them easily. They were getting taken down and put back up and whatever. So type into Google if you can't find them by the links that I'm attaching. Like if you view this video 6 months from now and the link isn't working anymore, just type it into Google, Mark Klimek lectures, and see if they come up that way. But I know there was a lot of information about them out there. He also does in-person lectures and reviews and has a study guide. And I truly, if I had known about him prior to like a week before I took my NCLEX, I probably would have tried to get into one of his NCLEX review sessions. So I would suggest, if you have the opportunity, to, I think it's markklimek.com or something of the sort. I'll link it below. But check out his like in-person review sessions where you can ask questions and understand the material more. I think that would be really helpful too. So if you have the opportunity, look into that as well. The next resource I have for you is Mike from Simple Nursing. Listen, these people on YouTube are friggin' fantastic. Mike has done such a good job with explaining concepts, again, in a way that are just like easy to digest and easy to understand. So the Mark Klimek lectures I used to do like an overall study session and listen to them while I was like painting or cleaning or whatever, and just passively was reminding myself of information or trying to like get things in my head. The Simple Nursing YouTube videos I used to understand something that I was truly lacking in. So if you're struggling with specific content, I would definitely recommend looking up whatever it is that you're struggling with. Say it be Cushing's versus Addison's or whatever. Look that up and Simple Nursing, and they'll give you like a great graphic and video that like is so, I just remember like all the colors and pop-ups would come up next to like the people that were placed on the screen, and it would show you a buffalo hump versus this. And so that was really helpful in understanding things that you really were lacking in understanding in. So check out Mike from Simple Nursing if you are trying to reteach or relearn something that you feel like you're struggling in. Something else that I think is a fantastic resource throughout nursing school, as well as when you're studying for the NCLEX, is the Orange NCLEX book. I'm going to insert a picture of the Orange NCLEX book here. Feel free to check that out. It is just really helpful and kind of the same thing as the simple nursing videos where you're reiterating information that you kind of lack an understanding in. It also had practice questions at the end of each section, which I think was really helpful because not only were you getting the question, you had the answer on the next page and you could see the rationale. Something like just a hot tip for you for a second, read the rationale of all the questions that you get. Whether you answer the question correct or incorrect, you want to be able to understand why. You may have a false understanding of the question you're answering or how you're answering it. So look at the rationale to understand why your answer is the most correct answer, or understand why your answer is incorrect in general. You really want to be able to like change that path of thinking so that you're able to think in the way that the NCLEX asks questions, because it's just a little bit different than maybe any of the other testing environments that we've been in before as nursing students. So check out that book and the questions. Make sure you read the rationale. I feel like it's just necessary for me to include this. Feel absolutely no pressure to read the entirety of that book. This baby is thick. You're not gonna read this whole thing. I mean, maybe you have a better reading capacity than I do, and you could sit down and read this whole thing, but I would not suggest it, I would not suggest it because at least for me, I mean, this thing is huge. It would not work for me in terms of trying to study. It's going to fill you with so much extra information. The book is fantastic, and I would suggest going through it as you go through nursing school if you're still at that point and you found this video a little early, but don't think that if you read the whole book, like that's going to be your key to success, because I think it's going to flood you with information that's just not pertinent to the test that you're taking. You're going to read, what is this? A 1,200 page book for the potential of 75 to 265 questions out of it. I would not say reading that entire book is the best idea, but do with that what you will, read what you want. Overall, it's a great resource in general, but I wouldn't suggest reading the whole thing. Anyway, let's get on to the next thing. There's also, so this is a Saunders book. There's also another blue book that I'll include here as well. That is a comprehensive NCLEX review. Again, I definitely recommend that. I think it has great information. It has practice questions and tons of information that I think could be helpful to you. Both of these books also have redemption codes on Evolve, so you can do online practice questions, which I think is so important in trying to pass the NCLEX. You want to be able to apply the knowledge that you've learned, because it's not just going to be, what is this lab value? It's going to be, your patient has a potassium of 2.8, what do you do now? And the only way to be able to answer those kinds of questions is knowing how to apply the information that you've learned. And these books do a really good job of teaching you how to do that. There is a lovely little beautiful angel of a human being. Her YouTube channel, I will tag somewhere, is Beautiful Nursing, and she made a 1-hour comprehensive NCLEX review that I think is pretty helpful. It is very broad, it goes over a lot of information, but there was something about the video that made me feel a little calm when I went to take my NCLEX. So even if it's something that you turn on and kind of passively listen, just take in a little bit of information from, I think it's a really great resource. And I liked it. I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. So check that out. She's on YouTube, and I will again link her somewhere. During nursing school and when I was studying for the NCLEX, I used Nurse Labs. Nurse Labs, if you don't know what that is and you are graduating nursing school, I'm so sorry that this resource was not given to you prior to your nursing school adventure. I loved Nurse Labs. They had so much information. They had different like worksheets and stuff, examples of care plans, and all the things that I would struggle with, I could find on Nurse Labs and be like, no, I understand. As well as all of the amazing information they provided me during nursing school, Nurse Labs has an amazing NCLEX cram sheet. So if you want to look something like that over and just look at the things that are pretty important to know for the NCLEX, I'm going to link that down below. It is awesome. I definitely checked it out. It gave me some reassurance in the things that I knew, and then I used practice questions after that to just solidify the information. So I will include that cram sheet down below. This cram sheet is something that I would really suggest that you check out. If I had to pick any 2 or 3 things off of this list to really study with and it be like my only resources, the Mark Clemec lectures, this Nurse Labs cram sheet, and practice questions would be what I would choose. So look at that below. If that is the only thing you get from this video, I'm confident that it will help you a ton. The last thing as far as resources that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about is all of the paid services that you can do, that you can purchase to study with. I did not feel it was necessary to purchase UWorld, to purchase Hearst, or anything from Kaplan. There are so many free resources on the internet that you can use that have the same exact information. So no, there's not a lot of practice tests that are set up with a blue screen like the NCLEX is. No, not everything is as perfect as those are in that sense, where you sign in, get a couple questions, pick what you want, whatever, and go through them. But I really didn't feel it was necessary. Again, however you choose to study is up to you. If you have seen 17 other YouTube videos that advocate for UWorld and that's what you want to buy, by all means, baby, do it. But I just wanted to share another perspective and make sure you guys understood that it was absolutely possible to pass your NCLEX without paying for a service. Because think about all the money that you're already putting into this. Nursing school, textbooks, scrubs, stethoscope, the testing fees and registration and whatever for the NCLEX alone is like $350, $400. So if you can save another $200 or $300 by not purchasing an unnecessary resource, I would do that. That is what I did. I just wanted to share that thought with you guys. In saying that, my school provided us Hearst in like our tuition fee. We paid for Hearst as well. I only went to Hearst to do the questions that I was assigned per my school. So I did not use it after finishing school to study for the NCLEX. I did use it in school because I had to, because I had assignments there, but I didn't use it as a study resource specifically for the NCLEX. So again, I think there are a lot of opportunities available for you outside of purchasing something. So if you're looking to save a little money, you don't necessarily need them. There's also Sarah, registered nurse RN. She didn't really have a NCLEX specific video that was comprehensive, but she had a lot of videos pertaining to the NCLEX, like lab values and drugs and other things. So you could check those out separately. Again, even if I forget something, I've made like a whole list. So I'm going to include everything down below for you guys to look at. You can choose what resources to use. So now that I've kind of covered all of the resources that I can possibly think of and everything that I've scoured the internet for, I wanted to tell you about a couple tips that I have just as someone who has taken the NCLEX that may be helpful to you. Number one, bring a freaking jacket. I live in Texas. It was 80 degrees at like 8 a.m. when I went to take my test, and I was sweating in my car, getting out, walking to the building, profusely sweating with the sweatshirt on. But when I got in that testing room, like, I was freezing. It was so cold in that room. I wore something comfortable, something that I liked wearing. I wore leggings, a t-shirt, and then a sweatshirt over that, and just like tennis shoes. That was really comfortable for me. I suggest being comfortable and warm. So make sure that you bring a sweatshirt, even if it's the middle of freaking July, because they were trying to freeze my ass out of there, I swear. The testing center will provide you with earphones as well as earplugs. I took both of them. I suggest taking everything that they offer you. I don't think that you can get back up until you finish the test or it's time for one of your breaks. So I suggest taking everything that you can while you can. That's earplugs, earphones, the whiteboard, and a dry erase marker. I think that's all that they gave us. And that was perfect. I took it all. Even if I didn't use it, at least I had it. Something else that I would say is just like a good thing to think about is writing things down as you go. The whiteboard sheet thing, it was like a covered piece of paper almost, was like this big. It was decently long and you could write on the front and the back. So I tried to write like really small and write things down that I knew to be true for the question that I just answered. It came up with a lab value and I could not remember what chloride was, and it said chloride is 96 to 108. And I was like, oh yeah, that is true. I would write those things down just so I felt like I had the information and that it wasn't going to escape me. As I was writing things down, I think the pressure of the room and the silence and being so strictly watched. I was just like, I want to make sure that all the information that I have in my head or that I see that's relevant and makes sense to me, I have written down somewhere. I also think that it's really important to get a good night's sleep beforehand, eat some protein the night before, eat some protein for breakfast. Definitely make sure you're full and awake, not so full that you want to sleep, but full and awake and ready to test. Being well rested is always important. So trying to do your best to relax the night before. Do not study the day before. There's literally not a thing that you're going to look at the day before you take the NCLEX that's going to be the difference between you passing and failing. Use the day before to relax, to take a deep breath, chill a little bit, do some yoga, whatever makes your heart happy, but do not study. Studying the day before is just going to numb your brain. I truly don't think that it is helpful, and I think it's just going to exhaust you even more. So I would really suggest not studying the day before, eating really good, spending time with people you care about, being in a good, happy environment, and just preparing yourself for the next day. I think the last thing that I want to share is that I have not seen this talked about. Maybe I'm watching the wrong YouTube videos, but you do not need to pay for quick results for the NCLEX, and you don't need to wait for your results to come out. After you pass the NCLEX, you can look up your license on the state board of nursing that you live in. I don't know if there's any issues or technicalities, and I don't want anyone to freak out if you look up your name the day after you test and it's not there, because it really needed a full 24 hours to register, but I didn't have to pay for quick results because your license would come up there. So I would try to look it up on your state's licensing website or in the link that I provide down below and see if it comes up that way, so you're not waiting in agony to see if you did or didn't pass. Other than that, those are all the tips I have for you today, my friends. As you go on your NCLEX journey, I wish you luck. I know you're going to do amazing. Please comment down below and let me know, have you taken your NCLEX? Did you pass? Did these tips help you at all? As always, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I'm so happy you're here as I navigate my YouTube journey and you guys navigate your nursing journey. Please feel free to stick around, hang out, check out my other videos. And if you're gonna do that, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.